Because if you understand the teachings, right, if you really get to the heart of the matter as far as understanding the teachings, then kidding around is what life becomes about, right? Kidding around is what life becomes about, because there's nothing to take serious. There is nothing to take serious. See, here's the deal. If what's being said here is occurring to you to be true, if what's being said here is occurring to you to be true, right, then you want to experience the truth consistently, don't you? Of course you do. You'd have to be nuts not to want to experience the truth consistently, right? Well, okay, so if that's the case, then the question becomes, if there are ways to do that that will accelerate the process, right? There are ways to do that that will help you shake off the personality, that will help you get out of that mental state of being a person, right? Then it would seem to me that you would be very interested in that possibility, right? When you walk around in the world, right? It keeps you in your personality because you got to keep playing your role in this drama, right? And what's operating here is trust in whatever happens. Trust in whatever happens. Which is the truth, right? The truth is whatever happens. So trust in whatever happens. Right? This brings something up that I was talking to somebody about the other day in terms of this whole business of no free will, which I keep finding myself coming back to. No free will and predetermination. I find myself keep coming back to that. And the thing about it is that people don't accept the idea of there not being free will for two reasons, as far as I can tell. One is because they think if they accept that's going to dramatically change everything for them, right? If I accept that I have no free will, right, then I can't even imagine how to live. I can't even imagine how I would proceed with no free will.
It's like, how do I get from here to the car without free will?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
How do I get off this chair without willing myself to stand?
That's right. So that's a valid argument, right? Don't tell me I don't have free will, because if it's true, if I believe what you tell me when you tell me I don't have free will, I'm stuck. I can't move. Right? But here's the deal. That the reality of there not being any free will changes nothing. The ego gets concerned, right? Because the ego thinks that it's going to mean some dramatic change that I can't even imagine, right? No, but the truth of the matter is that if you were to 100% accept no free will, nothing would change. You would still do things the way you always did. And how do you know that's true? The way you know that's true is because it's always been true that you never had any free will. So why would it change? It's always been true that you never had any. The only thing that'll change is now you know it instead of that you thought you did. That's the only thing that'll change. You'll still behave the same way. That's one of the sticking points for people, that they don't want to accept and let go of that, right? The other one is the one that we hear more often, and that's when people say, if there's no free will, then you must be telling me that God accepts and allows for there to be the horrors that exist in this world. You must be telling me that if you're telling me that there's no free will, right? And that argument shows the other concern that people have about the idea of no free will, and that is that they don't trust God.
Well, that there is a God.
Same thing. They don't trust, whether it's God or anything, right? But let's just say they don't trust God. Let's just say that they understand enough about these teachings to know that there is something, you can call it cosmic consciousness, you can call it the cosmic law, you can call it God, you can call it unified field, you can call it potential energy. There's something, right? And then the question is, does that something have intelligence? Is that something that is alive and real that I can trust in terms of giving surrendering myself to that, to the will of God, right? Can I trust the will of God? And for most people, the answer to that is no. That's the same reason I don't want to give up my idea of free will in terms of my being able to act in my own best interest. I don't trust giving that up. We live in a world where that's considered the most precious thing I have, isn't it? You know, in the world we live in, the most precious thing you have is your ability to act as an individual, isn't it? Yeah. So it's a big challenge to accept the idea of no free will and to accept the idea of trusting God or trusting the source, you know, and being willing, you know, to let go of these limited understandings about everything. But at the same time, the reason it's worthwhile to stay at it, the reason it's worthwhile to keep this understanding about no free will and predetermination, to keep that developing, to keep that deepening, to keep that becoming more detailed, is because the idea of having no free will and the idea of everything being predetermined is the essence of the personality. Is it not? Right? You could define the personality by saying that the personality is the doer, couldn't you? Right? You could say the personality is the doer.
But then you're making God you're making God into a person who is deciding what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So how is that very different if I am one with God than me deciding what I'm going to do?
Well, that's part of the problem, that the way people conceive of God is they conceive of God as a person. Right? And therefore, and then it gets interesting, because if you conceive of God as a person, and I never thought of it this way, but it's interesting. If you conceive of God as a person, and one of the things you've learned to do as a person is not trust, then you're not going to trust God either. Right? You've got to take care of yourself, right? That means don't just go around blindly trusting, right? That's a mistake. You got to take care of yourself. You got to protect yourself. You have to keep an eye out. You have to see if you can detect danger. You have to see if you can detect threat, right? And so you learn to operate in a defensive, aggressive way. Yeah. But see, the thing that people don't see that makes it a half-assed view, it's a half-assed view, is that we're paying attention to the perpetration, right? And we're not backing off, we're not backing far enough away from it to see the whole thing, which is the murderer and the murdered are the same thing. The perpetrator and the people perpetrated upon are the same thing. There aren't two. You're calling an illusion a reality, right? So yeah, it seems real to people who don't understand the truth, right? But isn't that the ball game? That's the ball game.